Hello, Joe. Hello, Joe.
Besides parrots, can crows talk too? Actually, crows not only talk, but are also very intelligent. In 2014, some experts conducted 6 experiments. In the first one, there were 2 tubes in front of a crow. On the left was water, and on the right was sand. Both surfaces had a piece of meat that the crow liked. After observing for a while, the crow didn't choose the sand, but started dropping stones into the water tube. After tossing in 3 stones, it successfully got the meat. In the second experiment, there were 10 stones of the same size, shape, and color. The crow picked up the first one and dropped it in, causing the liquid level to rise. Then, it went to another direction, picked up another stone, but it wasn't enough. Here's the catch. When it came to the third stone, the crow didn't even try. It just tossed it aside and went for the fourth one. After dropping it, it got the meat. So why did the crow throw away the third stone? Take another look. I had to watch it twice to realize how clever it was. Turns out, when the scientists set the stones, some could sink while others were foam blocks that wouldn't. The third stone the crow tossed was one of those foam blocks. Also, when the crow went for the second stone in a different direction, it's because the first 2 on the left were both foam blocks. It noticed a stone on the right. I mean, seriously, are crows this smart? Understanding the difference between water and sand in the first experiment is one thing, but grasping weight, density, and buoyancy in the second experiment, that's just too impressive. In the third experiment, the researchers introduced 8 lead balls, all sinking, but with a twist. 4 were hollow and the other 4 solid. To access the meat quickly, the crow needed to drop the solid balls. Could the crow distinguish between the hollow and solid ones? The experiment began, and the crow promptly dropped 2 solid balls and indulged in the meat. Moving on to the fourth experiment, both sides had water tubes. The stones appeared ordinary this time, no foam blocks. Initially, the crow's actions mirrored ours. It grabbed a stone and tossed it into the water tube. However, after 2 attempts, it paused, sensing something amiss. Pause. Did you spot the issue yet? Then, for the third and fourth stones, the crow doesn't toss them into the left tube. Instead, it throws them into the right one, and voila, meat time. Why not keep throwing stones into the left tube? Turns out, the left tube was wider, requiring more stones to raise the liquid level. The narrow right tube needed just 2 stones. Smart, right? The fifth experiment maintained the wide and narrow tube setup, but this time, the liquid level was high in the wide tube and low in the narrow one. The crow didn't repeat its previous strategy. It headed straight for the wide tube, dropped 4 stones, and got the reward. In the sixth experiment, they throw in 3 tubes. Clearly, the one in the middle with the meat is narrow. No stones fit in there. The crow doesn't even try. It hesitates, then finally goes for the right tube. The meat goes up. The crow's like, "What's the deal here?" Throws another stone, this time to the left, but no rise. Throws another, still nothing. Then, after a moment of hesitation, it tosses to the right again, and up goes the meat. It turned out to be a U-shaped setup. The left was a dead end, while the right and middle were connected. Later, children of various ages were tested, with most 8-year-olds succeeding. However, younger ones struggled, showcasing a hit-or-miss performance on the U-shaped puzzle. Though evidence wasn't definitive on whether crows could crack the U-shaped puzzle, the authors attracted a TV crew's interest post-research. This time, inside a huge cage, there was a complex system of 8 mechanisms. The goal: get the crow to the meat in mechanism number 8. Now, pay attention, there's a little stick hanging from mechanism number 1, but obviously it's way too short to reach the meat in mechanism number 8. So how's our crow buddy going to crack this complex setup and find the clues to solve the puzzle? Enter crow 007. It quickly spots the stick from mechanism number 1, realizes it's too short, and flies up to a branch. Using its feet, it grabs the rope and slowly pulls it up with its beak. Successfully grabs stick number 1, but soon enough, 007 realizes, just like us, that the stick's too short to reach the meat. What now? 007 observes and seems to find a clue. There's a longer stick in mechanism number 7, but how to get it out? In no time, 007 comes up with a plan. It starts using the short stick to nudge the stones in mechanism number 2. After grabbing the stones, 007 tosses them into mechanism number 7. Sure enough, the stick moves a bit. Looks like the analysis was right. 007 keeps using the short stick to grab stones from mechanisms number 2 and 3, then throws them into mechanism number 7. Now the weight's right. The long stick in mechanism number 7 gets spat out. Then 007 grabs the long stick and smoothly gets the meat from mechanism number 8. After recording this clip, the film crew finally gets why this bird's called 007. It took 2 minutes and 30 seconds, involved 3 layers of reasoning, and had 8 steps. This wasn't just a crow, it was practically a secret agent. So the crew asks the experts, can human kids pull off such complex reasoning? The experts just smile and nod, signaling the crew to keep rolling. This time, the experts design a device with 3 layers of locks. Inside the innermost layer, there are balls containing the favorite foods of crows, humans, and dogs, respectively. Then, they have each of them, the crow, human, and dog, demonstrate how to unlock the device. After a brief period of familiarization, the competition kicks off. Who will grab the meat first? The crow heads straight for it, solves the mechanism in 15 seconds, and gets the meat. The dog and the human kid? The dog seems clueless despite the human's attempts to signal it, and the kid soon loses interest, looking away as if to say, "This isn't fun." Back to the crow. Its intent is crystal clear. It flies over, opens the latch, grabs the second layer box, and pops open the lid to get the green ball, successfully snagging the meat. The experts note that besides intelligence, this experiment also demonstrates that crows have a better problem-solving ability compared to dogs and human kids. This ability drives them to use tools, and even create and innovate tools. The film crew is a bit perplexed. Isn't this the stuff textbooks always say sets humans apart? Plus, tool use and invention should be exclusive to humans, right? Can crows really do that too? In 1993, Dr. Kuhn found himself on a remote island off the coast of New Zealand called New Caledonia. While wandering through the jungle, he stumbled upon some peculiar leaves, seemingly deliberately cut. Dr. Kuhn suspected another research team might be nearby, but as he continued, he grew increasingly uneasy, with crows above incessantly cawing. These were New Caledonian crows, a species evolved independently on the island, known to occasionally attack humans in groups. Feeling uneasy, Dr. Kuhn prepared to leave. But just then, a New Caledonian crow intercepted him, perching on a tree in front of him. Luckily, this particular crow didn't seem hostile. As Dr. Kuhn watched, the crow pecked at the leaves on the tree, creating a long, thorny strip. Dr. Kuhn realized that these leaves were manipulated by the crows. Continuing to observe, Dr. Kuhn noticed the crow inserting the thorny strip into the base of some palm leaves. After a few maneuvers, when the crow pulled it out, it had snagged a snail on its thorn. After devouring the snail and flying away, Dr. Kuhn quickly picked up the thorny strip. Could it be that the crows were crafting tools? For the next 3 years, Dr. Kuhn observed the New Caledonian crows in the jungle. In one experiment, he hid some chunks of meat in tree hollows to see if the crows could craft tools to retrieve them. Typically, the crows would break a twig and then use it to probe for worms hidden in the hollows. If a worm bit the twig, the crow would immediately lift it out and eat the worm, similar to human fishing. But what if the worms were replaced with meat chunks? Could the crows still craft a hook-like tool to retrieve them? The results were surprising. Dr. Kuhn initially expected the crows to fashion a leaf hook again, but it was evident that the crows knew those hooks were too flimsy. So, instead of trying, they flew up to a branch, broke off a twig, and then deftly manipulated the twig's end with their beaks to create a hook. They then inserted it into the hollow, successfully retrieving the meat chunk. In a matter of seconds, Dr. Kuhn was left in awe. In 1996, Dr. Kuhn published his research findings, stating that the number of animals on Earth capable of tool making had increased from 3 to 4: humans, chimpanzees, orangutans, and New Caledonian crows. But only humans and New Caledonian crows can make this complex hooked tool. And then, there's another classic scene. A girl at the window teases a crow with food, playing around for a while. Little did she know, the crow was merely acting along. Can you guess what the crow ultimately wants? Turns out from the very beginning, it wasn't the crow being teased, but rather the humans. The crow never really wanted the food. It just wanted to deceive you into opening the window and letting down your guard so it could sneakily steal your silver spoon. Next time you see a crow, don't underestimate it. All right, that's the end of today's story. See you next time.